Yeah. No, I get it. Okay, we're going to be starting in just a minute, please. Yeah. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight for this forum with the Board of Education candidates. I'm Lynn Cohen with the Fair Access Committee, and I'm joined by the president of our Poolesville High School PTA, Andrea Stokes, who's here behind me. So Andrea's here as well, and we thank her for helping sponsor this tonight. This is my church, and it's also the church of the two fine tech guys we got back there who make this all happen, and that's Tim Melton and Kevin Schramm. So I want to thank them as well for really putting this together. Churches actually historically were used many times for political events like this, so there's nothing wrong with this at all, and now that we got the technology, we thought we'd give it a shot. But while I got you here, I thought we might as well go ahead and take a collection. No, we're not going to do that. It would help the church, though. I am pleased that all the Board of Education candidates that are here tonight have come, and we are streaming this as well, so it's not just the audience here that will be listening to this. It'll be on the Town of Poolesville's official website. You'll be able to see it there and use it yourself after the event's over. Unfortunately, Board of Education races don't get as much attention as County Council and delegate races and things like that. So we thought it'd be good for our citizens to hear from Board of Education members directly and candidates tonight. And that's why I'm so glad you're out here. I do want to thank local officials who are here, town officials. Jim Brown is here. Sarah Paxima, she was at the front desk when you came in. She's a commissioner as well. Ed Reed is a commissioner. Jerry Klobakowski is a former commissioner, and Jeff Eck is a commissioner. Ed Reed is also on the Fair Access Committee, which helped sponsor this tonight, and Sarah Paxima as well, and Nancy Kidd is here in the back there. She's also on the committee, so they're also were helpful in making this happen. Just a couple of comments on how we're going to work this. This is not a forum about you, the candidate. It's a forum about the citizens learning about you as candidates. So what I want to stress is that I want to see a good discussion about your views. That doesn't mean you can't sometimes comment on somebody else's comments, but I'm not here tonight to have a knockdown, drag-out fight. I want to have a good discussion and learn more about you. That's why you're here tonight. We have a lot of candidates, so trying to get through all the comments that we have, it's going to take a little time. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you to give just an overall statement about why you are a candidate, why you're running, and also what you think you can do for the Western County. And that's going to be a minute and a half, and as you'll see, there's a timer up here, so it's right there for you to see. You can't miss it. I can't miss it. The audience can't miss it. So when you get to a minute and 30 seconds, please end your comments. After that, we're going to go to a minute because we're going to try to get as many questions in as we can. If somebody does mention somebody else's position, in other words, saying, I don't agree with candidate X on this, I will give them 30 seconds to respond, but I'm really not wanting to have that happen much. I really want to have you talk about what you want to say and what you want the audience to know. So it's a little bit cumbersome, but we have a microphone here, and I'm going to try to make sure that I don't start with the same person every time. If you could just pass the mic to the next person as we go, and we'll start first with Rita, and then go all the way around, and then I'll have it set up so we're coming back, and so the microphones will be set so you just pass it from one to one. So if you want to just start off, Rita, again, just why are you running, and why do you think you're the best candidate for the Western County? It should be on. It's a mic. It's a wired mic. Yep.
Good evening. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for having me. My name is Rita Montoya. I'm a candidate for Board of Education at large. I'm a mom. I'm a mom of 2 kids that are 8 and 9. We're in 2nd and 4th grade at 2 different MCPS elementary schools. I'm also a PTA president at my older son's elementary school, and I'm an attorney. I'm a former juvenile public defender, so I represented kids ages 10 and through 18, sometimes into their transition into adulthood, for various things that they were charged with, sometimes including things that happened at school. I'm running for Board of Education because we need an elementary school voice on the board. Far too often, the issues and day-to-day things that face our elementary school students and families are just overlooked or forgotten, and I think that it's time that we change that. I understand that access to resources has historically sometimes been challenging here because you're further away from what is considered kind of the downtown area of Montgomery County, of being closer to Washington, D.C. and the like. I know that medical access is still a challenge. My understanding is that while medical clinic is coming to the future recreation center, that doesn't help you right now. We know that for our students to show up ready to learn, that means more than just coming with their backpack and their homework. Right? Our students need to be healthy and well. They need to have access to doctors and specialists as well as mental health care providers if that's what they need. So I think that I'm the best person for you to vote for out here in the western part of the county because I know what it's like to not always have access to the resources that I need. And I hope to be able to fight for you and advocate for you as a Board of Education member. Thank you.
Thank you. We're almost on exactly, so that's good. Thank you. Fitzgerald?
Greetings. Thank you to Fair Access Committee for hosting this event. As a first-generation Cameroonian American, I witnessed my parents overcome the challenges of building a new life in a foreign land. They instilled in me the importance of education as a tool for economic prosperity, self-determination, and social mobility. After earning my bachelor's degree and working as a paraeducator in an impoverished community, I realized the significance of educational excellence, which my parents emphasized from a young age. I then pursued my master's in law and explored various career paths, including teaching at a Montessori school, entering electoral politics, and working as a liaison in the Maryland General Assembly. However, I wasn't content with my contribution to the community. I then decided to run for the Board of Education to bring about significant reforms and overhaul the existing education system in a way that benefits public education collectively. I'm committed to implementing personalized and extended learning programs in the curriculum to effectively address the educational learning losses post-pandemic. Our campaign will continue to vigorously demand wage parity for paraeducators, push expansion in CTE programs within the curriculum, and also demand administrative oversight and erecting an oversight committee. And we will also establish extracurricular activities for students from disenfranchised and marginalized communities. I'm determined to be a source of hope from students in those communities and make a lasting impact here in our education system. Thank you guys so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Sharif?
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this event. My name is Sharif Hidayat, and I'm running for an at-large position for the school board. Who am I? I'm a dad. I'm a father of 2 kids that attend elementary school as well, as like Rita, a 10-year-old and a 7-year-old. I'm also on the PTA there as well, and I'm also a delegate for the MCC PTA. So I try to surround myself with the issues that are facing our school system. But the main reason why I'm running, and also in addition to that, prior to that, I was a police officer. Oh, the clock's not on, sorry.
Oh, You didn't reset.
That's my police observation skills.
So you're going to get a bonus here.
I know I can make somebody laugh. Okay, so are we gonna get out?
Go ahead.
time?
Go ahead.
Okay.
He'll reset it.
Okay, so prior to that, I was a Montgomery County police officer, and I served in the 4th District, in the Wheaton District, Wheaton-Glenmont station. There, I worked with the school resource officers hand in hand. We actually even shared an office, and that's another reason why I want to run for school board. I want to see that original program where Craig Rice came out here and was with Joe Lowry and saying how wonderful the program was, and it was, because it was all about building relationships with the kids. You'll hear tonight about this concept of a pipeline to prison. It doesn't exist. The pipeline to prison is occurring now because the school resource officers are out of the schools. Those school resource officers, I can name pretty much all of them by name because they were the role models for these kids. I want to make sure that they're brought back into the schools. You can take a look at the situation with public safety in our schools. We've had guns being brought to school, knives brought to school, fights being brought daily at Magruder High School. It's unbelievable. And here's the thing. Some people do their research and get their data from the newspapers, et cetera. I get my data from teachers and parents. They're the ones who are complaining. They're the ones that need to be supported. Here's another thing. A lot of politicians come here and tell you how messed up your community is and how they're going to fix it. Not in Poolesville. You already have figured out a way to be a model for the rest of the county. You're number 3 in Maryland as being one of the best schools, 46 in the magnet schools, 32 in the STEM for STEM. So we should be coming here and asking you, how do you do it? And emulate that for the rest of the county. I hope to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lynn?
I'm just waiting for my timer.
There it goes.
Hello, everyone. Lynn Harris. So nice to be here. Thank you for providing an opportunity for people to do their homework before you go and cast your ballots. I am currently the at-large member of the Board of Education. I was elected in 2020. Prior to that, I cut my teeth as an education advocate in Montgomery County, starting when my son started kindergarten in 2008. I raised my hand to volunteer for something, and there it started. So pretty soon, in a couple of years, I was the president of the PTA, and then I got involved in MCC PTA, where I spent 8 years as a delegate, as VP of Ed Issues, as VP of Advocacy, as president. And through that work, I got to know this area of the county very, very well, working along other education advocates. And I have always admired both the resilience and the powerful advocacy that emerges from this community, which is reminds me of where I grew up in a very small farming town in Kansas. And so when I see the challenges of a rural community, believe me, I understand it because I've lived it. And I know, looking at things like Monocacy Elementary, the smallest elementary school in Montgomery County, which is in such a rural area of the county that we even have issues. I think we still have oil heat in that building because that's what's available. But I also know I spent all day today, I was a shadow student, I was a Poolesville Falcon, seeing that great new school, still getting finished, but the amazing students and teachers that bring life to that building every day. It was such a treat.
Thank you. Natalie? Yep. Should be on.
Because I am a current elementary school teacher. I teach 2nd grade. I teach at Wheaton Woods Elementary School. If you're not familiar, it's a Title I community school in the Rockville area. In my experience as a teacher, I have seen firsthand how our resources are not trickling down to our students and our educators, particularly our most vulnerable students. I believe that public education is the greatest act of optimism in our future, and it's the greatest investment that we can give to our children. I believe that we need people on the Board of Education who have actually been in the classroom and that have been boots on the ground every day doing the work. And I believe that I know what's happening every day inside of our classrooms. I believe we need someone who is connected to students, connected to educators, and can use those connections to leverage our decision making on a body such as the Board of Education. When I was learning more about the Poolesville community, similarly to Ms. Harris, I was talking about how It reminds me of where I grew up and driving through. It reminded me a lot of my hometown in Michigan. And I thought about how community is so important in places like this, and it reminded me of our opportunities with community schools. It's outlined in Maryland's Blueprint for Education, and I believe that bringing community schools and strengthening that here in Poolesville can help all of our students succeed and give them what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you very much. Hello, my name is Laura Stewart, and I'm running for the Board of Education in District 4. Thank you for putting on this forum. I've been a Montgomery County resident for 27 years, and my 2 children are recent MCPS graduates. The last one graduated last year. I have spent years advocating with your PTA leaders right here in Western County as the MCC PTA Capital Improvements Chair and the Vice President for Advocacy. And I've also advocated for all of Montgomery County at the state level as VP for Advocacy in the Maryland statewide PTA. I visited and toured Poolesville High School while they were desperately trying to get attention to their building, often with the cluster coordinators. When environmental issues came up due to constructions, I helped with improvements to the construction process while balancing the need to actually complete the project. That's important. I even picked up air quality monitors from the University of Maryland and delivered them right here to the Poolesville High School's terrific science department. I was happy to see Poolesville at the top of the Maryland school rankings again, but I also understand there are problems that need to be addressed. I've sat on county-wide nonprofit provider calls and heard how hard it is to get needed services to much of the population here. For years, as an advocate, I've asked the Board of Education to do more oversight, and I'm hoping that I can bring all that experience to do that oversight and make sure that Poolesville gets exactly what they need. Thank you.
Thank you. Shebra?
Thank you. Good evening to everyone. I am Shebra Evans, running for the District 4 seat on the Montgomery County Board of Education, and I currently serve in that role. My husband and I moved to Montgomery County over 23 years ago for the very reason that we're all sitting here trying to run for the school board because of this great public school system. So fast forward, Sydney is now a junior in college. Sierra is a senior at John F. Kennedy High School. And so I'm very proud of the education that they've gotten. I've used the lens as a parent in addition to being a PTA advocate. When Sydney entered Harmony Hills Elementary School in 2008, a Title I school, I became involved at the PTA local level as well as the county level because of the inequities that I saw that existed for Title I schools. The resources were not there for all of our children, and so instead of complaining, I decided to get involved. So my commitment for equity and excellence has not wavered. I'm still advocating and ensuring that all of our schools are getting what they need. I take great pride in knowing that when Link came out to talk with Dr. Daka and I about the need to have a new high school, that I was on board and in agreement and actually recommended talking to our funders, our county executive and our county council, because we know as board members what the needs are, and we want to ensure that our students have what they need to each reach their full potential, and you get that by advocating for all. Thank you. Looking forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Abby?
Good evening, everyone. So I'm Abby Choi. I'm running for the Board of Education District 2. So I want to thank you all for inviting me to be part of this forum of candidate. So I am a mother of 5 children who all attend Montgomery County Public School in some time of their life. So when I was here 21 years ago, when I arrived in the United States, to me, Montgomery County was the best place to raise any children because of the education they will receive in the school. So that's what we believe in, my husband and I. That's why we choose to live in Montgomery County. However, after a few years, we start seeing a lot of flaws in the system, right? And I grew up in Senegal, in West Africa, so I was exposed to another culture, with the French influence, where people are very competitive, where people are achievers, they do their best to study. So I didn't see that same level of competition here in the American school in Montgomery County. And also, I saw that the people are lacking in some way, the children, they are lacking in some way in school. So I want to run for the Board of Education because I know that I can be a positive impact in the system and I can try to change the system as it is right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Ricky?
Good evening. My name is Ricky Moy. I'm here tonight for the very same reasons you are. I'm worried. I'm worried and I'm angry. And I want to do something about it. I have 2 kids in elementary school. One is actually, I brought him along, Alex. My other daughter is in 5th grade, moving to 6th. I am worried at the level of waste, inefficiency that's happening within MCPS, and we need better oversight of this, of how we spend our money. The money is there. We have billions. We just need to better use it. Make sure it goes to where it needs to go to make sure that programs are funded and buildings are built and kids are able to study and learn. Poolsville is one of the reasons why I moved to Montgomery County. It was such high performing standards, right? So how can I better benefit the Board of Education? I'm a Navy veteran, so I have 10, 12 years of military experience. I would like to use that to help streamline the process. I have large scale leadership, budget and finance management experience. When I get into the school board, I'm a collaborator. I've been on the PTA. I'm a Cub Scout leader. All these things put together help educate me on how we can move forward on a better path than where we are now. Thanks.
Thank you. Brenda?
Hello, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Brenda Diaz, and I'm running for Board of Education District 2. So just a little bit about me before I talk about Poolsville. So I'm a current teacher, and I've been a teacher now for over 20 years. During my time as a teacher, I did everything from pre-K all the way up to high school. I taught at Gaithersburg High School as an ESOL social studies teacher, and then also honors and on-level. So I was very happy to serve there. I was a union rep for some time when I was there. So I have experience knowing the inside track of MCPS and MCEA, what they're about and what they're up to. Besides that, I left MCPS because of the massive decline in support of teachers, and I thought that it would be best for me to go on my own. And so I started my own farm and forest program for elementary homeschooled children. It's actually down in Darnestown, and it's a great little program. And then I also teach online. So I'm still teaching, and it's something that I'm passionate about. I have a daughter who graduated from Poolsville High School. She graduated in 2022, so she experienced the old Poolsville building. So did I, and that was an interesting experience. So I'm running because I really want to bring that insight that I have into MCPS, my experience as an educator, and I very much look forward to serving the Poolsville area. It's gorgeous out here, and I love this area so much, so I would be happy to serve you. Thank you.
Thanks. So now we're going to questions, and it's a minute per person because we've got 10 people, so we're going to probably maybe have, if we're lucky, 6 questions. As you know, and you were saying, all of you recognize this area is unique. We have a lot of issues around isolation, distance, lack of population. But we also are a close community. So I put together a bunch of questions that are partly from parents that sent me questions they wanted to see asked, partly from educators, teachers, who send them to me, and also our principals. We know the principals, and they talk to us, so they send us a couple of questions. You won't know which ones they are, but I think you'll get the sense when I ask them. So hopefully we'll get through as many as possible. But let me start off with just a broad general question, and again, it's going to be a minute a person, and we're going to start with Brenda and go this way and all the way back, and then we'll, again, start that way, so nobody's going to always be first. What is your understanding of the Western County and its needs regarding education, and how would you define equity when it comes to the Western County? Brenda?
So from what my understanding and having been out here, coming out to Poolesville many times, it is an isolated community. You are lacking in terms of services. And when my daughter went to Poolesville, there was always an issue with the bus and transportation down to Gaithersburg, because I actually live in Gaithersburg. So that was always concerning to me. So the transportation issue, not having that many, I mean, I know that you guys have the new gym, but you know, how wonderful would it be to have a pool and other sorts of community services such as that? So I mean, when I think about equity, you know, equity is supposed to be fairness. You obviously deserve to have the same sorts of services that the rest of the county has. You deserve to have access to doctors and to the downtown area and to transportation and to community centers and other sorts of resources. So because you're part of Montgomery County, no one should be isolated. So that's how I would define equity.
Ricky?
Thanks. Thanks, everyone. So if I haven't mentioned it before, I'm from Rockville. I live in Rockville. And one of the reasons I did not have a chance to move out to Poolesville is because it is far away. I had a nice little drive here, and I had a chance to take a look at the agricultural reserve as I passed through. And it is devoid of the businesses you would see in most parts of Montgomery County, where there's, you know, there's more resources. You guys are a little bit forgotten out here. The school took, what, 3 years, 2 years? I kept reading reports, and I kept going back, 2022, 2021. I mean, you guys had to fight arm and leg to get someone to listen. And I saw Mark Elrich say, yeah, you made your case, but 3 years later, it still hasn't been done. So I really do feel, I'm surprised that you guys are so well adjusted to high academics, yet with so little resources. That's what I'm worried about. Thanks.
Avi?
When I was coming to this forum today, I was driving the street, and at some moment I was the only one driving on the street. And I say, wow, this shows that this place I'm going to is kind of isolated from the other one. This is the first time that I came to Poolesville. I'd never been here before. So I'd never experienced that. Going to Rockville from work, I always pass a lot of car and everything. I have traffic. So I noticed that the Poolesville area is kind of more isolated than the other part where I'm coming from, and also I know that you're having a lot of problem in equity is having access to fairness in treatment and everything, and I don't think that Poolesville is being fairly treated by the county and by everything that's coming your way. So I would like to help in that case. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda?
You mean Shebra? Oh, okay. So I'm.
Oh, that's my Shebra.
Okay. I just want to make sure you wanted me to go next.
Taking a note at the same time.
No, that's a good question. So if I had to start off by saying Sharif just mentioned all the fabulous things that are happening here at Poolesville. And so what we can continue to do is ensure that there are programs that your students can access without having to leave the Poolesville area to go down further to be able to access programs. So bring more programs to Poolesville for the students that are located here. In terms of equity, ensuring that you all are understanding that you are a first thought. I know the gymnasium was a bit off-putting. That came down to funding, but having a student athlete and being able to come to the gymnasium and seeing what it looked like, being able to give that description to my colleagues made the difference, and we made certain that we put that gymnasium in the budget. I tell you this, a lot of what's impacting our students inside the classroom are happening outside, which is access to health care, transportation, affordable housing. So continue as board members to advocate to our local leaders on behalf of our students, which actually impacts the parents as well. So we'll continue to do all of that work because this is our community and we love our students. Thank you.
Laura?
Sure. You'll hear some recurring themes, but really, for me, equity in Poolesville means that all the kids have access to what they need to thrive and learn. And I don't think that always happens. There are children that have more needs. They're living, near the poverty line. And during the COVID, there were food bags that went home to these families, and then the ESSER funds stopped and some of that stopped. So really we need to make sure that we're filling in the gaps and ask the community, what is it that you need? Do you need people up here with eyeglasses to get kids glasses? Let's send someone up. Do you need more services for mental health? Monocacy doesn't have, it's a very small school, so it doesn't have everything every other school has. So sometimes we have to bring that to the school. And again, check in. What is it that you need? So we make sure we do have equity here in Western County. Thank you.
Natalie?
I also want to talk about access. In my opening, I talked about community schools. If you're not familiar with what community schools is, and in the blueprint, part of what it does is it's a program that helps connect community resources using the school. It also provides 3 different staff members currently to the school as well. So that would be the community school liaison, it would be the parent community coordinator, it would be the wellness trainer. So through those positions, we are able to connect resources to the school and then to students and their families. When I was reading more about the Western County, I realized that about 30%, I believe was the number, I think it was maybe 28%, were low income. And that made me think of the problem here if there are food deserts and getting access to fresh foods. One of the things that community schools does, as someone who teaches at a community school, is that we have a monthly fresh food market, and we bring in fresh fruits and vegetables that families are able to come and get what they need and leave and be able to nourish their family and nourish their students. So I think that bringing in community schools, strengthening that program out here in Western County can help with some of the inequity.
Thank you. Lynn?
Yeah, thank you. Is this on?
It should be on, yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think, to me, when you talk about equity, the hallmark of that is you don't give everybody the same, you give everybody what they need. And when I look at Poolesville, I see an amazing, academically successful high school, smallest in the county, but with 4 houses, 55% of the students coming from other clusters. And we see John Poole Middle, smallest middle school in the county, but just because small doesn't mean that there should be fewer opportunities. And I think the biggest challenge that we find is it gets back to the transportation piece and making sure that we can get students to the opportunities that they want, but not have just the getting back and forth be such a huge part of the time that they spend. And I think, when I look at, I was at Poolesville High School today, and I was talking to Mr. Crothers, and he was talking about the Bridges to Wellness staff, that you're supposed to have 3, and currently, or for most of the school year, you've had 1.5. And I think we need to be looking, since we know the demand outpaces supply for some of the wellness services that we need, seeing how we can get, as MCPS, to partner with WAMO, who is providing great services on a mobile basis here in the county, but how can we connect those services more directly to the schools until we can build a school-based or a community wellness center?
Thank you. Sharif?
Well, if you actually listen to the people in Poolesville, and especially in relating to the school system, let's start with the new field, athletic field. That's what they've been talking about, because I listened to what they say. It's in shambles. It needs to be replaced. It should be in the next CIP budget, I believe. It's not in there, but I believe it should be in there is what I'm trying to say. So as a community service officer when I was on the police department, that was my primary role, is to find other resources to solve chronic systemic problems in the community. I developed a forte in this. I worked with linkages to learning. We would have a problem in the community, and they would say, well, use your nonprofit organizations, so use your interfaith community. So I would be able to work with churches, I would work with linkages to learning, and I agree with Mrs. Zimmerman about the roundabout services at the community schools. We need to rely heavily on the nonprofits to achieve bringing the services to the schools. And we also need to have good relationships with our county council members. Mrs. Balcom, I believe, is your county council member. So we should have monthly meetings with the county council, because in the end, the money all comes from there. So it comes from there, it comes to the school. We all need to be on the same page when it comes to that, all have a meeting of the minds with that. So my expertise is, I know where those resources are, I know how to advocate for them, and that's what I plan on doing with the western part of this county. Thank you.
Thank you. Fitzgerald?
Yes, so Western County and Poolesville has unique issues that are separate from other parts of the county. We see the Down County Consortium that has issues in terms of educational competency and getting those kids up to par. But here in the West County, Poolesville specifically, I know a lot of your issues and priorities are school safety and the reassignment of students coming from alternative schools there. I read recently, a couple months ago,
Yeah, if you can use the microphone, we're streaming on YouTube, so and that's how that gets done, so thanks. Rita?
Thank you so much. I think everything boils down to access. The fact that you might be geographically isolated because of your placement within the county doesn't mean that you should be cut off to resources and things that, whether it's the students, the families, right? Because we know that the families need resources so that their students can do well. So when we look at things like how Monocacy Elementary School has no assistant principal, I'm a PTA president at an elementary school that also has no assistant principal. We're actually the only two in the county. And I know the way that that impacts the school when principals have to be called out for mandatory trainings and other things. Poolesville High School, again, no access to medical, even though other high schools do. Given the historical lack of access here to medical resources, I was surprised to hear that Poolesville, being a new school, didn't have that as well. The gym, the cafeteria, the auditorium, those being outstanding. Access to things like programs, internships, after-school jobs, not necessarily because your students can't secure them, but because are there enough opportunities here to provide? Is there transportation? Are students able to get to what they need to complete dual enrollment programs? So I think it all boils down to access, and we need to remember that the fact that you might be geographically further away from certain points in the county doesn't mean your students and children don't need access. Thank you.
So we'll start off this question with Natalie. I mentioned that the principals and teachers also send me questions, and this is one from a principal. He basically, I'm paraphrasing, but he said, schools are more than just education. They're emotional support these days, meals, mental health, protection. How do we support the whole student? Is wellness centers the only answer, or is it just part of it? And how can the board partner with MCPS on these issues? Natalie?
Thank you. I think part of what this question is getting at is also about student mental health. I think that one potential root of this problem is that our staffing in MCPS. Not only are we understaffed, but our staffing allocations, what staffing we suggest, does not meet national recommendations. We don't have enough social workers, we're not meeting that recommendation. We're not meeting our recommendation for school psychologists. We're not meeting our recommendation for school counselors. And so our students are suffering. I think that's part of our first step, is upping our allocations and making sure that those positions are filled. I think another factor here is that a lot of our students are missing that connection with other staff. They're missing that connection with their peers. I think that some peer-to-peer groups that are supported by educators would be a great way to connect our students and make sure that we're educating the whole child, making sure that they're ready to learn and that they're able to come to class and be ready and prepared for what amazing content their teacher is about to present before them.
Thank you. Laura?
I'd also like to put a plug in for the community school model. I think that is a really strong model to bring in more supports for that school after you do an assessment. So every school needs assessment to see what are the where's the biggest need. So we can bring in supports that can be tailored to the needs at that school. Also, as far as supporting the whole student, right now, because kids were isolated during COVID, they need more support than ever. And really, they need to be engaged, because kids they're not used to initiating the engagement. So we need to be more intentional about engaging them. And that means inviting them to clubs, inviting them maybe to a lunch bunch during lunch. If you see a kid's being isolated every day at lunch, having student ambassadors go up to that kid and say, hey, do you want to join this fun thing we're doing after school? Sometimes all it takes is that little bit of personal invitation, because kids need that more than ever. They need that connection. So between the community school models and more connection, I think we can go further in supporting the whole student, the whole child.
Thank you. Shebra?
Sure. So what is currently happening as a result of COVID is well-being teams were created. So you had your people personnel workers, your principal, your counselor, your social worker, school psychologists, all coming together to talk about how they can help support the child. But for me, I believe education is everyone's business. So it really has to be a community conversation, coming together and having a town hall to talk about what we could all be doing to better support our students. And that looks like bringing in Health and Human Services. We have a lot of different nonprofit organizations that are coming to help support our students. That means having our parents come to hear what actually exists inside of our school walls, as well as our students. Some of our students say that they don't even know that some of the resources that we have available are available. And that's also looking like connecting our students to and our families to resources that exist in the county. So not everybody is always aware of what actually exists. So I think it also would involve us coming together to have a conversation and talk about how we can best support the needs of our students together.
Thank you. Abby?
In order to help the student flourish and become to the best of their achievement in school, I think we need to increase the number of sport and the number of clubs the kids have at school. So they're going to have more drama clubs and music and art and all kind of clubs that can help them reach their potential, and also having more stuff in the school. So having more teachers, of course, but also having more counselors, having more psychologists, having more social workers who will help the student achieve their full potential. That's what I believe that's going to help the student become more successful in school. Thank you.
Thank you. Ricky?
Thanks. Kids spend almost 8 hours a day at school. That's their learning place, their safe place, their workplace, right? They're there to learn. It can't just all be academics. I would love it to be all academics, but they need, just like we know, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you need to have much more enrichment besides academics. I am all for academics, but you also need nutrition, the physiological needs, right? I heard that that a lot of high school kids here actually populate the restaurants out in town during lunch. That's a great thing for the community, but it also says something about the nutrition or the food offerings at the high school, that it's subpar. So I would like to take a look at making sure that we improve nutrition, after-school programs, give kids a reason to really just enjoy their time at school, and then be able to also focus on studying. Thanks.
Thanks. Brenda?
Would you mind repeating the question?
Yeah, let me read it again here. It's a question from the principal. So, schools are more than just education. They're emotional support, meals, mental health, protection while the child is there, safety. How do we support the whole student? Wellness centers, is that the only part of it? How can the board partner with MCPS on these issues?
Thank you. All right. So what I love about Poolesville High School is that you have so many great academic programs to keep the kids active and stimulated. You have the humanities program, which my daughter participated. You have global ecology, right? It's what's made you guys great in terms of an academic program here in Poolesville. But there are other things that we can do to help children, feel more aligned and more connected to their school day, to their community. And so I'm thinking one of the things we need to do is introduce cross-age tutoring. We know that when children work with other kids that are different ages, especially when you have older children working with younger ones, that really boosts their self-esteem. Introducing more service learning opportunities, alternative programs, thinking about maybe even introducing a phone ban. That's something that we need to consider. We know that when kids are accessing their phones at a regular basis, it causes lots of problems. And the study was just recently released that showed that children benefited greatly from not having access to their phones during the school day. So that's something that we need to consider. So yeah, just providing different opportunities for children outside of the academic programs that you guys have done very well on.
Thank you. Rita?
Thank you. Kids need hope. They need something to believe in. They need to believe that there's a reason that they're doing this, that they're putting this energy in. I'm sorry, but most kids aren't choosing to get up and get excited to go to school because they just love math class, right? It's something else. It's the after-school sport. It's the gardening program. It's trumpet class, one of my children's personal favorites that always gets them up and past the bellyache in the morning. So we have to give kids something to see so they can want to invest in themselves, so that they want to push through the hard days, push through the hard moments. We also need more boots on the ground. So, we're not gonna magically conjure up 1 million therapists for everyone. That's a nationwide problem that we have. If you've tried to schedule a therapy appointment for a child or even find a therapist in the last few years, it is really hard. A lot of them don't take insurance, and you're going to be waiting for a year, maybe longer if you're lucky. And then maybe they're only going to be by video. So I think that we need to make sure that kids only need one adult who cares, whether that's staff, teachers, paraeducators, school counselors, any other types of support staff or people that are in buildings, especially community members. I know you have a strong community here and you really want to lean into that. Thanks.
Thank you. Fitzgerald?
Yes, school is more than education. School essentially gives children a sense of community. And this is something I essentially went through personally at my time in MCPS. And during these superfluous school closures, unfortunately, kids were ripped away from their community. That's why we're seeing stark increases in suicide ideation, anxiety, depression, et cetera, and so on, even homicide ideation. But I'm here to provide solutions for certain things, as I just articulated. We have to implement vociferous fidelity behind after-school extracurricular activities, specifically physical education. Kids need an outlet to create peers and bonds and fraternize with their friends. We have to go back to the basics. I think sometimes we fantasize and romanticize with policy implementations that aren't really attainable, maybe in the long run, but parents and community members need short-term solutions right now, and this can be implemented tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharif?
I would take a different approach to answering that question to the principal. I don't think you're broken. I'm not going to provide you a solution when I don't think you're broken. I think you're fixed, and you should remain fixed, and don't rely on MCPS to solve problems that don't exist. That's my answer to the principal, because you are thriving here. You're number 3 in the state. Clearly, you're doing something right. You should be proud of your record. And the reason why you guys are like that is because take a look at this one survey that I read about school environment. 71% has a positive response, as opposed to Blake High School down county, which is 45%. You guys have a wonderful relationship with your teachers and principals and administrators, and there's respect up in this area of the county. So my response to that is, let's continue to fund the field. Let's get that field renovated. Let's double down on athletics. Go Falcons. And let's just keep looking. And let's not tell Poolesville they have a problem. Let's just show the rest of the county you're the model to follow.
Lynn?
I get it. Principals being a principal in this day and age is one of the hardest jobs there is, and schools are being asked to do more and provide more for their students than they ever have. Lots of services that were never the traditional purview of schools, but we have to do what we have to do to make sure everybody that comes into our buildings every day feels welcome there and has what they need so they can get down to the job of teaching and learning. And I think in our county we have great resources, but I think sometimes they are too fragmented and we don't do a good job of pulling them together in a seamless web of services that can wrap around schools and augment what the schools can do, because we, as many have indicated here, we can't hire our way out of the need for more mental wellness supports and things like that, because the demand outstrips the supply of those professionals, but we can partner better and more tightly. And I think it does get down to ensuring that students have what they need to meet their essential needs, but are also able to engage in activities that feed their soul beyond the academic day, whatever that is for them. And that is another way that we should be partnering far more tightly with our community partners.
Thank you, Lynn. I say we're going to start this questioning with Lynn and go this way and go that direction. So you'll notice, based on, again, the input we're getting, that we're trying to focus our questions as much as we can on the Western County in our area and what we need. There will be a couple of high-level questions, but this is another question that I got, again, from the community, and it came from a teacher. All communities are unique, but in one that is small like ours, far from much of the rest of the populated county, our schools play an especially vital role. Our teachers and administrators see themselves as key partners with our community, and we are worried to see so many administrators and teachers leaving in the county. Is part of the problem the culture of MCPS, and what would you do to improve morale in if you're elected to the BOE? Lynn?
Yeah, I think what we need to focus on is making every school a place where everybody in that building every day feels safe, welcome, and valued. And that looks different in different schools because we have 211 schools and they're all unique to one another. But the bottom line has to be that we create a system of consistency where when an issue is identified, whatever it is, there is a clear, direct line where people can raise those concerns, know that they will be efficiently and effectively and timely addressed, and that whatever that issue is, whether it's the bus is late, or a student has been harassed, or there are, we're having problem getting substitute teachers because we have some teachers out on long-term leave. We need to make sure that we are looking at each issue as it arises and are building and are addressing it as effectively and efficiently as we can, as transparently as we can, so that the people in our communities can see that we are doing the work that we need to do as a system instead of being in silos where we are not communicating directly, and making sure that people can see the work we're doing, and instead of feeling like things go nowhere.
Sharif?
So Poolesville is unique. I would say that there is no one size fits all approach to any of this stuff. If a teacher in Poolesville is complaining about morale, it's not coming from the students, it's not coming from that principal, it's not coming from other teachers who work here. It's coming from headquarters. It's coming from a big bureaucracy. It tells them, we know better than you. We apply one size fits all, and Poolesville's not like that. So whatever grievances that teacher probably has, it's probably not coming from this local community, it's probably coming from headquarters. And we need to look at those policies that are pushing these teachers away and causing us to not be able to retain qualified teachers. Thank you.
Fitzgerald?
Why are teachers leaving? Teachers are leaving because they don't have adequate support staff in the classroom. You have large classroom sizes. They don't have adequate time for planning periods. And these are things that continue to plague overall retainment, and it's proliferating attrition and turnover, specifically with teachers. Now, another thing that we also have to address too is behavioral issues with students. That's another thing that's a main driver that's driving teachers out of the school system. Also, the lack of support from whether it's a teachers union, whether it's a central office, et cetera, and so on. We saw a principal harass a teacher, and this principal had over 18 substantiated allegations against teachers in the school system. And the school system went to the farthest extent to protect this principal. If I was a teacher under those circumstances, it would be hard for me to stay too as well. We have to fundamentally reform such things and demand that our teachers stay here in MCPS.
Thank you. Rita?
Thank you. So when we talk about the culture of MCPS, I just want to be clear, we're talking about kind of the environment, right? What is the environment conducive to? And so if there's a question as to, is the culture in MCPS, at least in part, causing teachers and administrators to leave, then I think we have to say yes, we have to be honest about that. And that's actually part of the culture that needs to change. We need to be open and honest and forthcoming about what is going on in our school system so that we can come up with solutions, so that we can invite community members, and that includes staff, teachers, educators, administrators, families, students, to be a part of coming up with these solutions. So teachers, administrators, staff, they need to feel comfortable saying, this is what's going on in our school. Administrators, principals need to be able to say, we have a safety issue here, we need some help, without fear of retribution or being maligned or looked at badly, or their school looked at badly in that way. So I think that the openness, the transparency, that will change the culture, and that's what I hope to bring to the Board of Education. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda?
Yeah, so in terms of improving teacher morale, that's actually one of my major issues for my platform, because I was a teacher in MCPS and I did leave because of the lack of support. What I found was that central office and the union had their own agenda apart from supporting teachers. So what would I like to do? What would I do? I would have open forums to hear directly from teachers. I would host candid one-on-one meetings for the teachers who wanted to share privately with me their concerns about what's happening in the classroom. I would make sure that teachers had more free time to plan and to grade. That's one of the how many times did I call off sick because I actually needed to grade? This is a part of what's happening in MCPS. There's just not enough support for teachers in that aspect. We are in the art and in the business of teaching, and MCPS is in the administration of teaching, loading us with paperwork after paperwork after paperwork. So we need to look at a way to reduce the amount of paperwork that teachers have to handle. We need to provide the actual physical resources to teachers, so that's paper, copiers. The joke at Gaithersburg High School was the number of selfies that I took with broken down copiers. This was constant, so it gets in the way of teaching. I would definitely work on boosting teacher morale.
Ricky?
Thanks. This topic is near and dear to me. My wife taught at Clarksburg High. Unfortunately, this last April, last year, she moved over to Montgomery College. She's one of those people that left MCPS. Why? I share her frustration each day. Lack of respect for teachers from the students. When she asked for the administration for support, they said deal with it. She had to work she had to do her job and then another colleague's worth of work because they were missing teachers. Teachers have a simple demand. or simple request. Let them teach. Let them have manageable class sizes. Give them the resources to be able to teach and the latitude. If they ask for something like, hey, I need a help to remove phones from the classroom, support that. These are things that the administration, myself, will be able to do when I'm in that position. Make good policies. Thanks.
Thank you, Abby.
A teacher must feel appreciated. They must feel that they are valuable members of our communities. So one of the first things we all must do is to listen to the teachers. We have to listen to their complaint. We have to listen to what they have to say. We have to listen to their suggestion. So I would advise the school board and also the Board of Education to listen to the teacher, to listen to their suggestion, to listen to their problem, to be here, to be helping them every single day, because they are valuable members and they play a great role in our children's life in this community. And also the other thing I need to do is we need to increase the salary of the teacher. We need to feel that they are very appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Shabra?
Yes, could you repeat the question? Because I can't remember if it's about the teacher, about the principal, or both. If you don't mind, please.
Which question I asked?
Okay,
now. I got them crossed off here, but
So-
yeah, there it is. All communities are unique, but in one that is small like ours, our schools play an especially vital role. Our teachers and administrators see themselves as key partners with our community, and we are worried to see so many administrators and teachers leaving our county. As part of the problem, the culture of MCPS, what would you do to improve morale?
Perfect. I just want to make sure I didn't leave anybody out and only speak to the teachers or the educator or the administrators. So I will say that I think one of your questions earlier, you mentioned that the job is so much different today than what it was like 10 years ago, even 4 years ago. It's a really heavy lift. I believe that the administrator, they know their community, giving them more autonomy would be helpful, as well as the teachers in the classroom having more autonomy. What I try to make sure I do as a board member is I meet with teachers and principals on a regular basis, and as an entire board, we meet with them on an annual basis. And what they are able to do is be very upfront and frank about what makes their job difficult, what we could do to help them to make it a little bit easier, and what are some of the things that we just need to stop. And so what I take great pride in is that I listen to what they say and try to make certain that through the budget, I can implement that and vote on it and support it, as well as our supporting professionals. They carry a heavy lift as well. So I just think it's really important to have open communication and dialogue early and often, because that just makes the process better. So collaboration is key.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you so much for the question. First of all, we really just need to listen. So part of listening is having an open door policy. As we know that there were a lot of issues at a school and so many teachers were affected, and yet they felt like there was nowhere they could go, really. So yes, we need to improve our systems, the way we collect complaints, make sure we're following Title IX compliance, but also just let employees know that we will listen and we will do something if their workplace is not a healthy workplace. So also we need better surveys that the teachers fill out every year, and also good exit interviews, especially our administrators are leaving. I want to hear what made you leave? And I want that to be an honest discussion so we can learn from it and move forward. I think we could do a lot at central office to make sure it's a healthy work environment. So these are the tools that we can use to move towards that direction.
Thank you. Natalie?
I am currently a teacher in this system in MCPS that is going through this. And I can assure you that teachers are not leaving because they don't love their students or not because they don't love the work, but because there are things continually being added to their plate and that they are continually not being heard. I can tell you that there are some low-cost solutions to this. Give teachers 100% self-managed planning time. Currently, we're being asked to schedule meetings, and oftentimes we don't need to have those meetings. That we have papers to grade, we have lessons to plan, we have other things to get done. We can add more special area courses, especially at the elementary school level. It's a very low cost. We can use curriculums that aren't scripted so teachers actually have autonomy inside of their classroom. I currently know of a school that has submitted 5 bullying complaints about their administrator this year, and the only solution they have been offered is a listening session. That's it. So they have not been offered the next steps of what they do now because there's still not been anything that has changed with their administrator. So we have to take these complaints seriously, and we need to streamline our processes so our teachers can be heard and so that they can be supported every day in their classroom.
Thank you. So we're about 20 minutes from 8 o'clock, and if it's all right, if we go a few minutes over 8 o'clock, I've got one more question that's really about our area. I got a quick, what I call a lightning round question, which you're just going to give me a sentence or a word, and then a minute closing from all of you, okay? Is that okay? All right. So we'll start this question with Rita. There's as you know, and it was mentioned already, our school has a series of magnet programs. Most of you don't know that historically the reason that started was because our community started it. Our community, with our teachers there, started the Global Ecology Studies program, which is the first magnet program we had. So we helped get that whole idea off the ground. So magnet programs are critical to us. What do you think about magnet programs and about protecting the ones in Poolesville? And secondly, and Sharif mentioned this, and it's another issue that's a big one for us because we don't always get the resource we want. When our school was approved, and we're so grateful for that, nothing was done for the outside fields at all. We still have a lot of work that needs to be done there. Do you think that's fair? So Rita?
I never think it's fair when some kids that go to one high school have a different experience than they go to another one, right? If you're a child who plays a sport where you need that field, that makes a huge difference for you. And it's not like there's another high school close by because you're out here, right? That they can just go to, because this is where you live, then you have transportation issues. So, when we talk about Poolesville not having the gym, the auditorium, those things make a big difference for kids. I talked earlier about how kids need a thing to feel hopeful about. If that's your child's thing, the thing that gets them going, I played sports when I was a kid growing up all into college. I played fast pitch softball. If you had told me I was going to go to a high school that didn't have a softball field, that would have been a huge problem for me, as I imagine it would be for many of your students who are missing auditoriums, gyms, fields, and things of that nature. So, you can even include the magnet programs in there. Those programs seem to be working well for students. Might there be things that need to be discussed or addressed? Sure, but those are community conversations to have. That doesn't mean we just scrap them all together or do without something that's working well. So I don't think it's unfair to have these challenges with the fields. I do think we want to protect our magnet programs, and we want to make sure that kids have access to these types of opportunities in all of our schools so that we don't have to do things like protect them at one school.
Thank you. Fitzgerald?
Yes, so I want to take this time out to speak about the magnet paradigm specifically. Access to this program is extremely hard, and there are very seldom opportunities, even in the state for that matter. We have to fundamentally reform the lottery system, which would allow more kids to have access to magnet schools and that magnet program. Secondly, we need to see increased transparency with how the queue is essentially organized from a chronological standpoint. We see a lot of schools in the Up County, Western County that constantly get pushed back. I understand Poolesville got the new high school, but there are a lot of schools that constantly get pushed back on that queue in terms of capital budget improvement plans. But we have to fundamentally reform those things too as well and institute means of transparency there. I spoke to parents that are talking about their track system at Sherwood, that being upgraded. We have Damascus High School that hasn't had a new facility since 1979, if I'm not mistaken. So we have to institute collaborative measures with members in the community. And provide more transparency there on how we could get schools moved up in the capital budget improvement plan. Thank you.
Thanks. Sharif?
I've never been one to tell somebody, I know better than you what you need. And it wouldn't change if I was on the Board of Education. It's the other way around. You tell us what you need and we provide. You have said global ecology is important to you, the humanities are important to you, science, math, and computers. Those are the houses that you guys have in those magnet programs. The funding will be there. But let's just be real. Poolesville wants their fields. Let's not deviate from this. It's something tangible. It's something that can go into the CIP program. If elected, that's what I plan and intend to do, is focus in on what you all are telling me so I can provide that for you. Not to create these ideas and brainstorming events. Poolesville doesn't work that way. Poolesville is very direct. I need this. This works for us. That's what I intend to do.
Thank you. Lynn?
Yeah, the Poolesville Magnets are an amazing opportunity, and I know every year we see many students and families who are very disappointed that they do not get into the limited seats that are available here. And to me, that is another huge equity issue, because great programs like the Global Ecology Program and the Humanities Magnet and SCAT, they need to be franchised with fidelity and quality to other locations across the county so more students have access to them, because geography matters in a county this size when it comes to being able to access an opportunity. We have a huge opportunity gap. Magnets are a great way that we provide our students amazing opportunities. We need to make them more widely available, not less. And I do think unprecedented inflationary pressures on our capital budget, but we do have to look at equity when it comes to facilities. I do believe that when it comes to things like our athletic fields, every school's facility should be of equal quality. And so getting Poolesville's fields addressed and their athletic facilities updated is definitely something that needs to happen.
Thank you. Natalie?
Thank you. I want to talk about other programs like related to magnet programs in this too. I also want to talk about like CTE or career technical education in this as well. A lot of these programs are required to be self-funded, and then that puts other issues at risk. So it's my understanding that most or every high school in Montgomery County has a greenhouse, but they are severely underutilized because sorry, no pun intended, but they don't have the seed money to be able to get started. It really costs about $1,500 to get one of these programs up and running, but we're not giving that funding to these programs so they can begin. But we look at these programs and we celebrate our magnet programs, we celebrate our CTE programs, but we're not putting our money where our mouth is. We want to say that these programs are so fantastic. Well, then we need to be funding them. We need to be expanding them. We need to make sure that our students have equitable access to them. And we need to make sure that our students are able to enjoy them to their fullest potential. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you for this question. This is near and dear to my heart. Both my kids went to countywide magnets. One went to Richard Montgomery for their IB program, and the other to the Visual Arts Center. And they both got really what they needed. But this is the model. Like Poolesville, I see as a model to hold up for the rest of the county when it comes to magnet programs. I am the biggest supporter of magnet programs. In fact, my older child graduated in 2019, and he was educated to compete with the world. He is in Washington State right now, and what he is doing is studying quantum materials. Montgomery County schools did that, the magnet schools did that, and I want more kids to have access. So let's spread this. This is a success story, and we need to capitalize on it and expand it to more kids. Also, yes, fields. Poolesville should get updated fields. Thank you. It's the Ag Reserve. I think we have some really good
we are in the Ag
experts
Reserve,
here.
yes. We should have grass.
So the Ag Reserve should use their, yeah, okay, thank you.
Go ahead.
So many years ago, there was an audit done of the magnet programs, and what we did find that there was a scarcity. And so when you see that there's a scarcity, and as a board member, I can see the appeals that come through where our students are disappointed because they're waitlisted. Of course, you don't want to have that happen. You want to see how you can create those opportunities across the county. So Ms. Harris stated that really great earlier. We want to make certain that it's not just at Poolesville, because you are premier, and we do want to model that across the county. So what I think is so unfortunate is that when we don't fund something, it appears as though we are saying you don't deserve it, you don't need it. It really comes down to funding, and it really comes down to us being able to continuously educate our local officials on how important it is for you all to have that. And it just comes down to being able to find an opportunity for you to do it and not put anything on hold to where you don't get anything at all, but you get it in pieces sometimes. That's not the way it used to be. But now, as it was stated earlier, with inflation, rise in cost and prices of materials, it's just more expensive. And so we're having to piecemeal it, but we got to be creative to be able to figure out how to get it all in one package. So I promise, as a board member currently, and if brought back on for your premier support, we'll figure out a way to do that. It's important. Thank you.
Thank you. Abby?
So Poolesville's magnet program is a success. Like everybody can attest that. Everybody is very proud. I'm sure the people of Poolesville are very proud of the program. So like I said, maybe the biggest problem that you're facing in your school maybe is funding. That's the problem. But other than that, I think that you deserve every success that you're having in your magnet program, and I want to work into helping you develop it to expand it. Thank you.
Ricky?
Thanks. Bottom line up front, I will not move the magnet program from Poolesville, and it's almost borderline criminal to have some schools have a lot of fields. I was at Mario Liederman the other day, 2 great fields, and this school is missing one because you're far away. You're not right in front of us to yell at us. So I will not move the magnet program. Magnet programs work because they're a center of excellence. Over time, they develop a competency, it's a specialty, maybe a combination of teachers, the policy, the environment. We want to make sure kids can come and taste what the Poolesville magic is. I don't know why it is, but it's year after year, this is the highest scoring location. Richard Montgomery is where I live, and I want to make sure that those kids have a chance to come here and bring back to my area, to all the areas, what the secret is. We can all benefit better from that. Thanks.
Thank you. Brenda?
So my daughter participated in the humanities program, and then she also participated in the French immersion program at Gaithersburg Middle and at Maryvale Elementary School. So I got to see firsthand how amazing the magnet programs are. They are the highlight of the community. They are the highlight of the school. They bring so many resources into the school. So they're just fantastic. And so I have to commend Poolesville with making sure that they keep their global ecology and their humanities program, and that has to be a priority. But what goes hand in hand with having these sorts of academic programs is your sports program. Oftentimes, students who excel academically do so because they're motivated to play on a team. You know, like I want to make sure I get a C and above or a B and above or whatever it is that they need to meet in order to play on the team. As someone who has children who played multiple sports, I also played multiple sports, I would prioritize definitely making sure that you guys have the fields that you need to play, right? Because your children deserve that.
Thank you. So now we're at the end, close to the end. I wanted to do a lightning round question, and it's just going to be a sentence at the most. And I hate to keep focusing on problems, but we do focus on problems. We also get a sense of your priorities. So this question is real simple, and I just want to, at the most, a sentence. And we'll start with Brenda. What is MCPS's biggest problem?
Two things. The rot in central office, which is preventing the resources from actually reaching our students and our teachers. And the other one, well, I'll just focus on that. The rot in central office. You need your money
Thank you.
to go to our children.
That was short. Good. Ricky?
2 words, improper spending and bad policies.
Avi?
The Montgomery County Public School biggest problem is a large achievement gap.
Okay, Shebra?
Sure. I'll say communication. We can do better at communicating in advance of issues that we see. We can do better at communicating when we have completed a process that we want you to be aware of. Communication early and often. You can never communicate enough.
Laura?
Accountability and transparency. And that goes with communication. So we just need, before you can fix a problem, you need to admit to it. And I think that is the biggest problem right now. We need to admit to our problems so we can move on and get better.
Natalie?
I'll keep it to 2 words. We have a transparency deficit.
Thank you. Lynn?
Yep. Lack of transparency, and we need better systems of accountability in all areas of work, and too much telling, not enough asking.
Sharif?
Intellectual dishonesty from our Board of Education currently.
Fitzgerald?
MCPS's biggest problems, I should say, are the educational learning losses post-pandemic due to superfluous school closures and COVID lockdowns.
Rita?
Thank you. MCPS's biggest problem currently is the lack of community trust, which is serving as a distraction from focusing on our students and their academic needs.
Okay. So now we're just going to have a closing statement from each of you. Leave your best impression as to why, with us, why you should be a Board of Education member. And let's start with Natalie.
So thank you so much for having us all out this evening. I think that my biggest strength is coming from my experience as an elementary educator, that this is what I do every single day. I am spending my day with our students, and I know what educators and students need on a day-to-day basis. Spending all of my educational career in Title I schools, I have seen approximately 25 to 30% of my colleagues leave the school or leave education as a whole. And this to me isn't just theoretical numbers, this is my actual lived experience. I think that my greatest strength is the connection that I have to my fellow educators and to the students of MCPS. We need people on the board who have actually been in a classroom and been in a classroom recently and that know what's happening. Someone that has these connections that I just described. And I believe that I can be that champion for our students and for our educators. Thank you.
Thank you. Laura?
Thank you so much for having us here. I think my strength is all the experience I've had, and with many of you, in advocating for your kids. And I did it with my kids too, right? They've now graduated, but I've spent the last 10 years building relationships in the state, in the county, through other parents, other advocates. And we can do this together. No one can make this is a huge job. I mean, over $3 billion. You cannot do this alone. You cannot move us forward alone. We need to do it as a team. And so that's what you get with me. I'm a team player. I will actually engage with you, listen to you. You know, if I'm not responding to you, I will give you different ways to get to me to make sure you get a response. And I will be your advocate. So I hope you consider that and vote for me on May 14th or right now if you have your mail-in ballot. So thank you.
Shebra?
Sure. So thank you to the Fair Access Committee and the PTA. I see former commissioners in the office, in the audience. I see current commissioners. And I will tell you, what you have right now is the result of the relationships that the Fair Access Committee has created. I pride myself on relationships as well. Not only have I served in education advocacy positions prior to being on the board, but as a board member, my work is just not at the local level, it's at the state level too. I'm currently the state treasurer for the Maryland Association of Boards of Education. And traveling across the country, talking to, there are more than 40,000 school districts. And I tell you what, we should be proud of what's happening in Montgomery County. When I go to school board conferences at the national level, people are talking about what they want to do. MCPS is currently doing what everyone else is trying to figure out. And so I built those relationships with our local and state elected officials at the federal level, and I know how to get the job done. I have the experience. I'm very committed, and I'm looking forward to hoping that when you go in there and check the box, that you check the box for Shebra Evans School Board. Thank you so much for your time and all your wonderful questions.
Thank you. Abby?
Hello. Thank you so much for inviting me again. I'm very, very happy for being part of this evening. So I have been supervising my children since 21 years in Montgomery County Public Schooling. So I have kids in elementary school, in middle school, in high school. I have seen them facing so many problems. I have seen them struggling. I have seen their friend also struggling and having problems too. So I know that this system can be improved. I know that we can bring change to the system, and I am ready to embrace in this new role. So please vote for Abby. Thank you.
Ricky?
Thanks again, Link. Thank you, everyone, for your time. We all know the issues that we need to fix. Okay, the symptoms are drugs in the schools, vaping, no-go bathrooms, bomb threats. Okay, fields that you can't play on, no auditorium for some schools. We know the problems. What's the root cause? The root causes that we can fix are a combination of bad policies, like the 50% rule, allowing kids to not even attend school and still graduate. No truancy policy. They don't even have to come to school. We'll never hunt them down. So we're not optimizing the return that we're investing in our school system and our communities. We've thrown money at the issues. Every year it gets more, another billion here. School board is full of educators. What we need are leaders, someone with a willingness to collaborate, like myself, and a professional who does finance, budgeting, long-term strategy, and streamlining processes to minimize waste. That's what I bring. Thank you very much. I'm Rick Moy.
Thank you. Brenda?
Hi, thank you so much for hosting this event this evening. Pleasure to be out in Poolsville once again. So why am I running and why you should vote for me? So I am deeply passionate about education. This is my lifetime career. Something I've been dreaming of my entire life was to be a teacher, basically since first grade, and I committed to that. Not only did I commit to that, I committed to being an excellent teacher, participating in all sorts of programs to make sure that my content was on point. So just as I did that for myself, I want to be able to do that for your children, making sure that they have access to the resources they need to excel. I want to make sure that our children are in an immersive, thriving learning environment that magnifies their talents. Each of our children have their own unique abilities, and our schools should be able to pull them out and make them blossom. That's what I want for our children, to experience that firsthand. So vote for me, Brenda Diaz, District 2, and you can hear more about me at diazforboe.com. Thank you.
Rita?
Thank you. I live MCPS every single day. My kids are 8 and 9. We're in 2nd and 4th grade. I'm not going anywhere for quite some time. Private school, homeschool, those are not options for my family. So I knew, and that's why I became PTA president, because I knew that I had to jump in head first, find out what's going on in my kids' schools, and then do the best that I could to help improve them. And that's what I do every single day. Now, I think it's great that Poolesville High School has these wonderful magnet schools, but I also know that there are students who live here in Poolesville every single day. They don't transport in and out. They don't leave and go to a different area of Montgomery County where they have access to after-school jobs and different resources that they need. You all live here, and you need to have access to those resources too. Our elementary school students who bus into a certain school from their small town, they need access to those resources too. So when we talk about equity, we need to be clear what that means, and that means providing all students with what they need. And if you elect Montoya for MCPS, that's exactly what you're going to get. So please vote for me. You can check me out at Montoya4mcps.com. Thank you.
Thanks. Ms. Gerald.
The best part about running for public office is that our campaign has the opportunity to utilize our platform to speak on behalf of the downtrodden, those who are often forgotten and endure sheer apathy from their elected officials. We jumped in this race with little name recognition nor political support from the Montgomery County establishment. Yet, we were able to curate immense amounts of grassroots and organic enthusiasm to our campaign. I want to be a paragon of virtue and hope, not a smug and condescending demagogue who believes they have a monopoly on the truth. The lack of political moderation and centrism from a candidate who isn't beholden to partisan organizations has left the Montgomery County voter completely disenchanted with government and electoral politics. Our style of governance will prioritize stakeholder input in lieu of acquiescent governance for partisan organizations. I can say this with conviction because there has not been another candidate in my race who has been more transparent, more accessible, more present, more enraging in the positions, and more active in my community. If elected, I will implement wage parity for paraeducators, CTE expansion, personalized and extended learning mechanisms, an oversight committee, and completely overhaul our security mechanisms. Please vote Fitz-Mo for on early vote on May 2nd. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Sharif?
So I'd just like to remind everybody, we all have websites. Mine's votesharif.com. Please check it out and see what we have to offer. I'd like to break this up into two sections. So the first thing is that I'm glad the rest of the candidates picked up that when I started talking about the fields, now everybody's starting to chime in and say, it's the fields, it's the fields. But the first candidate that actually talked about the fields was me. Why? Because I actually listen to Poolesville residents. When they say, this is important to me, this is important to our community, I deliver. I repeat back exactly what you say. I don't sugarcoat it. I don't try to give you more yum, 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 and yummy, yummy, yummy in your tummy, tummy, tummy with MCPS. I don't do that. You tell me what you need, I give it back to you. That's number one. So the other thing I wanted to say is this concept of intellectual dishonesty. There's a reason why I said that earlier, and it's because you heard it from Shebra Evans. Everything's great at MCPS. I go to national conferences, and everybody's trying to emulate us. How? We're failing our students currently. We have truism issues that's causing us to have lower graduation rates. Nobody's asking the incumbents, why do we have graduation rates that are lower than they were before? Why are we having truancy issues? Why are we having people show up with knives in our schools at Kennedy High School? Why are they showing up with guns in our schools? Why are we committed to ensuring that the SROs don't come back? The reason why is because you can't walk into down county schools without smelling weed all across the halls. But they want to share that with Poolesville. I say no, don't let them do it. Poolesville has set the example for Montgomery County. You guys are number 3 in the state. You're not broken. They're saying that you're broken and they can bring you solutions. They're not going to bring you any solutions. You need to set the example. I mean, you have already set the example. We should be emulating Poolesville, and I would ask that you please vote for me because all you're going to get is the truth, and I'd be the only father on the Board of Education if I'm elected. Everybody else is a mother there. You need a father's perspective as well. We count too.
Lynn?
Yeah, when I ran for the Board of Education in 2020, one of the reasons I did it was because my years as an education advocate and a teacher and a parent in the system had given me a wide and deep knowledge about this system in all 25 clusters. Since then, I brought to my analysis of every issue that comes in front of me, I look at everything through the lens of a nurse and a lawyer and a public health practitioner and a teacher, and all of that together makes me basically a pragmatic problem solver, not a deficit thinker. I approach every problem with the question, okay, how do we get this done? Not what are all the reasons that we can't do it or it would be hard. And I deeply believe that the only way we can make the best decisions about our school system is if we truly embrace the wisdom of our customers, the people whose lived experience is in our buildings every day. No decisions about them without them, less telling, more asking. We need to embrace the wisdom of our students, of our teachers, of our staff, and our families in every problem-solving, policy-making, and priority-setting conversation.
Thank you all for coming tonight, and let me also just say it in closing, you couldn't see this on the screen, but the job that our tech guys did in doing this on YouTube, you're going to find it excellent. So I want to thank them again for the job they did. And thank you all for coming in the audience. I appreciate it. Thank you. Oh, thank you, buddy. Our technology worked. Yeah, we try to get it right at the ear. Thank you, bud. Thanks for coming. I think we're good. I just got to get some stuff. But I got it.